Hi there, I'm Mrs McTaggart. In this video we are going to look at how to find the area of a rectangle. So you should already maybe have a grasp of what area stands for at this stage. It is the amount of space inside a 2D shape, which is like a flat shape that you can draw on a page. So what you normally start by is we talk about using square centimetres, which is written like this as centimetres with a wee power 2. It's how many little squares would be inside this rectangle here. So each box represents 1 square centimetre. And if you look at it, we have got 4 columns and 3 rows. So this is called a 4x3 rectangle. And if you count up all those boxes, we have 12 boxes. So the area of this rectangle would be classed as square centimetres. So where is this used in real life? Well, if you were to go order yourself a carpet, it is sold by the square metre. They're asking you, well, how many squares go into your living room? So there's your answer to that one. So how did we do that? Well, there was a shortcut. We didn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or maybe you did to start with, but eventually you might start with going, well, there's 4 in a row, 3 rows, 4 times 3 is 12. So what we're doing is we're multiplying the sides together. And there is a special name for the sides. It's length and breadth. But before I go into that, just to give you an idea of all the different units of area. So I don't know if you've ever looked that closely at a penny, but on a penny there is this image here, and that's called a portcullis, which is like the kind of gate to a castle. And those tiny little squares inside that portcullis are 1 millimetre by 1 millimetre. That's so small. So that would be a square millimetre. If you look at your pointer finger, your index finger, it's roughly, your fingernail is roughly 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre. Or to give you a more better analysis, is I know certainly in my school we use jotters, which are 0.5 centimetre squares. So if I had to draw a square around 4 of those little squares, that would be 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre. But roughly the size of your index fingernail is about a square centimetre. Moving to metres, I couldn't think of anything. So usually in my classroom, people look at the floor and I've got tiled carpet in the classroom. But a square metre is roughly, if you were to lay your single duvet out flat on the ground, that's roughly 2 square metres put together. So half of a duvet is about a square metre, roughly. And then the next unit up is kilometres, and I can't think what is a square kilometre. I quite often show the map around my school to pupils and say, right, there is about 1 kilometre away from our school, draw a square in, etc. But Scotland is approximately 77,910 square kilometres. So a square kilometre is pretty big. So let's get into some examples. So here is another rectangle. First thing you do is you probably count the top row. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the top row. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. So the area of this rectangle is 6 times 4, which is 24 square centimetres. Now I'm going to work in square centimetres and assume all my boxes are centimetres. So let's get to the formula. We multiplied the sides. The fancy words that go to these sides are length. For the longest one, so I think if you're swimming a pool, the long one would be the length, and the one that's left is your breadth. So length times breadth. Some people might use base, and height means the exact same thing. You are multiplying the dimensions of the rectangle. So if you were in my classroom, I'd get you to write down this formula, and this is always our starting point. Area equals length times breadth, which in algebra was shortened to A equals L times B. And then we use that formula to find the area of loads of other rectangles. So we'll start off with the first one. We'll start by writing the formula A equals L times B. Our length is 8, so 8 times 6. In reality, though, it doesn't matter what way round it goes. We all know 8 times 6 is the same as 6 times 8, which is 48 square centimetres. So really, we're just practicing our times tables when you're doing a rectangle. It does get harder as we move on to other shapes, however. Look at another one. This one is 5 by 12, or 12 times 5. So we'll start with the formula, area equals length times breadth. And we're going to do 12 times 5. And hopefully we know that that is 60. This time my units are in metres, so all we do at the end is put on square metres. It's really important to get into the habit of putting on units of measurement. Remember, it's not just metres, because that would be like a length of a piece of string. Area is counting how many little squares there would be if we were to draw these all in like so. I've obviously not drawn that accurately, but there would be 60 tiny little squares. Okay, slightly tricky numbers, but we'll do the same thing. Area equals length times breadth. So we're going to have 20 times 2.5. And then we have to think of mental arithmetic ways of doing this. There are several. Basically, to multiply any number by 20, that's the same as having 2.5 times 10 times 2. That's the kind of order I would go. So 2.5 times 10 is 25. 25 times 2 is 50. Similarly, you could just do 2 times 25 is 5. Then multiply by 10, we still get 50. And then one final example, same again, the rectangle's just drawn at a wee jaunty angle, don't be put off. Area equals length times breadth. This time we're going to do 30 times 15. And we're going to do the old ignore the 0 for a second trick. And we're going to do 3 times 15 is 45. And then we're going to add on a 0. I always do my 15 times table by thinking of my clock, 15, 30, 45, 60 and so on. So that one would be 450 square centimetres. So that's the area of a rectangle. It's really just your times tables. Some good mental arithmetic skills might come in with the numbers you have to multiply. But if you want to try more, you can pause the video and try these examples and see what the areas of these would be. And then when you unpause it, your answers will appear. Like magic, there are the answers. Excuse the handwriting, but they are exact. One I didn't mention was this one. Example D was a little square. A square is just a glorified rectangle at the end of the day. It's just 5 times 5 for that one. I hope this has helped. Thanks very much for watching.